all thinking we're doing the right thing.
Well, 10 months out of the year, it looks great. People
Yeah.
that do that stuff, it's like great. It's just like, you forgot about the rainy winter
Yeah,
season.
but the rain-
Yeah.
I'm thinking we're doing the right thing.
Well, 10 months out of the year, it looks great. People that do that stuff, it's.
Okay. Okay. I will call the March 10th City Council work. Oh, it isn't March 10th. How did I do that? It is, well, that's what was, that's what is in front of me. It is February 24th yet, but it is a work session, and I call that to order at 6:02. Thank you. First off, we'll have Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, not? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong, I've got, oh, I see. I've got council here. Yeah, it's okay. No, I've got it. It's okay. I had just made notes on the old other one, and never mind. I'm just like, anyway, great. Sammy, would you call roll, please?
Mayor Bell,
Here.
we have Counselor Bowman,
Present.
Engelbretson,
Here.
Lehman,
Here.
Myers,
Here.
Counselor Smith and Wells are absent. There is a quorum.
Thank you very much. So our work session discussion items, are in the packet in front of you. The first one is the public safety support fee. And I want to remind all of us that this is a work session. This is for discussion, this is for questions, but we are not making any decisions tonight. So this is to get us ready for the March 10th council meeting when we can make some decisions. And we are not really coming up with an amount for the fee. We are just discussing. So, Adam, you're going to do the rundown on that?
Sure. Yeah. Just start off with what we're hoping to accomplish tonight. We had originally and conceptually another item on the agenda that we just didn't have ready for prime time. So this meeting turned out a little lighter, not intentionally than we had thought. So the two things we have on here, and I've added in the packet the look ahead, and I thought maybe we could go over the look ahead just as a what's coming down the pike if we have enough, because I think we might have some time for that. We sometimes run out of time to go through the look ahead, but the two items formally on the agenda, the public safety support fee, and that is really, I made the edits and additions based on the conversation at the last council meeting to the outreach document. And then I also just thought we could take a chance to make sure we're all clear on the kind of the process. You hit a little bit of that, the process timeline for accomplishing that or going through that. And then the communication and community engagement item is really just a commitment that we have to just take some items that we don't automatically discuss as part of our framework document. It's an actual objective in our framework, and just wanted to go through and give an update of kind of what we do for communications, and then maybe highlights of any particular things that are coming up seasonally. Sammy helps manage that, and Madison on her team does a lot of the graphics and gets this stuff out the door. And so there's a really good document that I'd like to go through just briefly to show what we do and how much volume of communication effort we pump out. And then, like I said, the third item that's not formally on the agenda is the look ahead. So with that, we could just pop open the packet there on pages 2 and 3 of the packet. It's front and back on its own. It just, the way it's printed here, they're separate, but it's just a front and back, consistent with what we saw at the council meeting, incorporated the dedication. I think there was a goal to make sure that it was infused with the word dedicated fee for public safety. We changed some order around on a few things, and we added number 6 and 7 are new. They were questions that were suggested from the council meeting. So we added that. And the goal is to, if there's nothing significant in terms of revisions, we're kind of pegged to get this out the door tomorrow on social media and the website. And then it'll also go in the next round of utility bills. And concurrently then is a page, as it's noted here on question number 9 there, how do I get more information? We're referring people to the website primarily, in addition to some info sessions, the town hall formats. The website will have a page that has kind of all the history from the revenue subcommittee memos and the recommendation document from the subcommittee, and just a full, some general fund information on it as well. So that'll be kind of the source library of information. So when the community is wanting more detail than what the FAQ offers, that'll be the place for them to dig into more. And that's probably our best resource also for you in conversations. If you run across one-on-ones, you can always direct people to that spot on the website, and it'll be prominent on the homepage to click into that. So that was really it for the public safety support fee, is just making sure that we're good with what's going out the door. Just a quick process recap. The March 10th meeting will be the first reading of the ordinance, and that's an ordinance to create the structure to establish the fee. It isn't to set the amount. So at second reading would be, if everything is agreeable to council, the second reading would be the April meeting. I think that's the 14th, 13th. I don't have the date in front of me. The second Tuesday in April. where that would be second reading, as well as a resolution that would establish the fee amount. And then as it's been proposed, or as it's going to be proposed to council, the effective date of the fee would be July 1. So it would be for next fiscal year.
Question? If the FAQs are going out in the utility bills, I'm making an assumption here that the public safety support fee will just be for those of us that live within the city limits.
That is correct.
And so do utility bills go out to citizens that live outside of city limits?
Yes, there are about 40-ish, 42.
So we need to
Yep,
put something
Okay.
on here that it only applies.
yep. Sammy and I'll get our head together and make sure we don't inadvertently alarm some of those folks. Yeah,
Well, this is still a little draft. We can make some
absolutely.
suggested
Yep.
changes.
Mhm.
Just under number 7, when we talked that we have cut back in some of our staffing, or maybe it's under number 6. Didn't we also cut back in our planning from 1.0 over a couple of years to 0.6 or 0.8?
We've been at 0.8 since I've been here, so I only included what we did last year. There probably are some other things that over time have been reduced.
Maybe just a little mention that there have been things
Over
Going
the
back.
years.
going back a few years, but
Okay.
also our finance director position's been reduced, correct?
Not in terms of the staffing level, but the position,
Okay,
position title
Right.
and compensation. Yeah, so those are some smaller items, but yeah, I can add something to. I focus primarily on the reductions in police, but there are some other overall general fund reductions that have incrementally happened over a number of years.
and then one last comment on under number 7. We're talking about how the general fund expenses rise and the income decreases. And in my mind, I'd be a citizen saying, well, how do you balance your budget if that happens? So maybe a sentence like, we've been able to balance budget by spending down some of our reserves. Would that be something that,
We could definitely add something about fund balance, continual reduction in fund balance.
at some point, the reserves have to
Yeah.
be maintained? And
Yeah, I get your gist on that. Yeah, we can make something that addresses that. Yep. Yep.
Something.
No, I just wanted to thank the Counselor Lehman for bringing that up. I think that would be a good addition.
Good.
And I wanted to just take a moment and Eugene financial stability report is out. I mean, I'm sure they, like Springfield, paid a lot of money for this report. Basically, it says exactly the same thing. Costs are going up, revenue is flat. So I cannot say it often enough. If we are not alone, it is a statewide issue. It was one of the things that Mr. Rayburn talked about today. About, they're trying to look at, and in fact, they're doing a pilot program up in Washington County and hoping that if it goes well, and it's directed towards public safety, and they're hoping if it goes well, that then they'll get some legislative funding. Now, how likely is that within the whole state of Oregon? Financial issues. So I don't know, but people in power, in government are aware that this is an issue for all cities. So I applaud that they're looking at it. They're trying to do something.
Yeah. The bigger solutions, the kind of that we're talking about a structural deficit, right? And so a structural solution is probably beyond us in this room, for, you know, the core structural solutions that are, the things that are impacting everybody. But yeah, the City of Eugene report, there's a smaller document that's a kind of an executive summary than I think the one you're referencing there is more of the full document, but the executive summary, we'll put both on the website for our library page, because the subcommittee, you know, as you both were on, we did review the Springfield product that was very similar. It had the same kind of public input process, same kind of committee approach. We took the subcommittee approach. They took a kind of a task force approach, both the other cities, but it was initiated right about the same time that we initiated ours, went through really the same option sets. And, you know, they have some in both of their documents that are really looking at larger kind of economic development driven solutions, which we could debate about how effective that is when you don't have control over those functions very well. But they also then had some of more similar to ours, is more what do each of those local governments actually have levers to actually deal with on the expense and the revenue side both. So yeah, they're both relevant, and they're really identifying the same problem and the same dire spot in the process that everybody is in, because everybody has tried to do exactly what Councilor Lehman was talking about, was, you know, do a combination of a little bit of revenue, a little bit of expense cuts that don't harm service levels, and a little bit of grabbing fund balance. And that's basically your savings account. And so you're driving down your savings account each year and just taking a little bit from all places, so you don't have a big hurt in any one place. And I think most communities have been doing that, with very good intentions, very, you know, trying to weather the storm and wait for some structural solutions that maybe come from the state level. And we just still aren't seeing those. And at some point, those you can't nickel and dime around the edges with that combination. You have to take a little bit bigger chunk. And unfortunately, this is our, you know, I think it's our, you know, best tool of the limited tools that we have. But we'll put that links to that on the website for both of those cities as well. I can make that edit on the fund balance driving down. I think that helps. That's a natural question to that, secondary question to that explanation on the first. So I can move over to the communications and community engagement if we're ready, or if there's more on public safety, we'll.
On 8, where we ask, will the fee amount go up every year? We might want to put in something that we will be exploring other options. I mean, one option that we've discussed is the levy option. So we're kind of explore. I hate to say, you know, oh, this is what we're looking at, but we are exploring other options.
Yeah. Okay. Other revenue options explored and evaluated. Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. So I put a little memo in front of the attached document that has all of our just snippets. This isn't an exhaustive document, but I'll just hit, you know, the presentation objective here is, as I mentioned in the opening, an update on just kind of our progress on communication and community engagement as a framework item. Under the background section of the memo is the full body of the objective that's under the our community category, and then below that are the actions that we talked about at the retreat, then the handout really is kind of the show and tell for for this evening's agenda. And I'll just start by saying that, you know, for a very small staff in a small community, I was impressed before I got here, and I stay impressed and continue to be impressed as I'm here about the quality, the volume, and the quality of what information pumps out of this building to the community. It's a never-ending quest, right? It can always be better. It can always be more. And so we're not ever stopping on it, but it is a
Never be enough.
and it'll never be enough. That's true. Yeah, it is true. And we recognize that, and that's okay. We just keep going. And there are, resource limitations. There's, there's a bunch of things that go into, what's our top limit. We're trying to get more efficient with templates and, ways to be able to plug them in quicker and quick swap outs, while still staying fresh and different. But the document that Madison put together for Sammy and I here, it goes through kind of our regular social media, look and feel of, if people that aren't looking at Facebook every day, and there's plenty that we recognize that channel is not universal. Not everybody uses that particular communication tool and channel, but it is a very effective one for those that do. So the first section kind of outlines just a smattering of kind of the look and feel of some of our social media work. Then following that is some of our larger kind of issues and project specific communications, and like the utility rate adjustments. And, these, almost all of these involve Sammy, myself, and Madison, and oftentimes a department head, depending upon what the topic is, just to make sure that the content we're putting out there is accurate and doesn't inadvertently create more issues. We go, oh, we didn't think of that. So Chief Larson's involved in reviewing some that are police specific. Brian is involved in, in either generating the initial content that we then massage, or the other way around, reviews what we put together. So it definitely is a team effort, but Sammy kind of manages the flow, and Madison does a fabulous job at doing kind of our in-house graphic design work and pulling this together. And honestly, often reminding me, hey, aren't we going to do didn't you say we're going to do this tomorrow? Or, so she's great at kind of keeping tabs. So just flipping through it, I'll move away from the memo really, and just, it's just a whole smattering of different topics. We're doing some work on the Go Paperless, trying to look at, kind of our operational efficiency, getting the word out on, seasonal things like, the frozen pipe stuff, always have our required, our notice of public hearings that is part of our formal legal noticing requirements. So not all of these are mandatory. Many of them are actually just, we have to do these. It's not optional. The mayor's monthly updates, I think, have gotten in a really good rhythm. The mayor puts together really great content, and we're getting a kind of a rhythm going for how we help format that and get it published. And it's now a real regular part of our communication efforts. We're trying to do some integration of some educational stuff, action shots, of what we do and why we do it. I think there's always kind of I harken back to like a children's book, Richard Scarry's, how do cities work? What do these people do all day? So, there's a lot of stuff that people do see, and we're trying to increase some of the understanding and education of what they don't necessarily see. So we're wanting to still work on some videos for the kind of a brief overview of the wastewater plant, that people can, a 45-second, to a minute clip about, there's a lab in there. There's, we have to take samples, and there's enzyme, there's bacteria, there's stuff going on in there. There's biology class basically in there. In addition to, just the flow and the pumps and the motors and all that stuff. So our communication plan is, really encompasses more than just our, when meetings are and pushing content. There's a lot of opportunity that just, what we do, how we do it, why we do it, what are our limitations. And then we also have, we have some promotional things that are on a regular schedule. So page 14 of the packet kind of has the bullet list of kind of reminders and notices of, just to keep keep the flow going of construction, public hearings, events, job announcements, online stuff, the mayor sip and chats, parks, volunteer work parties, just so we have random, we have weekly, we have monthly. So there's a full calendar of all of this stuff. And page 15 has some stats that are pretty interesting. So while each individual post doesn't always have wowing sort of numbers in terms of stuff, a lot of people view it and don't comment, right? You know, the easiest thing is to see the comments or the forwards or anything like that. But the actual reach is pretty significant, you know, and those sometimes are not necessarily people that live in Coburg. Maybe they used to live in Coburg or they have relatives that live in Coburg. It's a broad audience of recipients of that, but pretty dang good numbers, I would say, for our size of an organization. We do also have a Coburg Police Department specific page. That's pretty common, is that a lot of people are interested in one and not the other. They'll subscribe to a PD and not to a city page for general. They like to know what's going on in a police department. So that's another collaborative thing. We cross promote between the two sites or two pages. And some, rarely are there some where it's just Coburg PD. We typically post PD specific stuff there first, and then you kind of repost or connect the dots to our other page to extend that reach. But there's quite a few in here of police department specific stuff. And again, there's an endless educational opportunities with this as well. Page 19 is not as fun to look at with the pictures and graphics, but page 19 has our website edits. We talked about at the retreat that we updated the look and feel and the back end that we had to from a software perspective last year, or the end of most of last year. And now what we're going through is kind of department by department, section by section, saying, okay, content. We did the look and feel. We've updated the tool sets. We have the ADA accessibility tools on the website now. Now we just need to go through the content and make sure it's relevant. So this lists out all the different things we've done. When we approve the CIP, we now have it expandable by year. So you don't just look at a PDF. You actually can have the PDF or have an explanation about what a CIP is. You click on the plus, it brings you what's going up this year, the next year, the next year, the next year. And then at the bottom, you can click on the full document if you want it. So the goal is to not just have, hey, here's a PDF, open this up, to give a little highlights to it. And just bring more content right up onto the page rather than having to click forward to it. There's some individual park pages now, so it has a little information, and we're kind of leveraging stuff that we got from for some prior survey work and prior inventory work to actually generate individual pages for the parks, and plenty more to come. And we just kind of keep pecking away at the website and keep improving it as we go. And if there's anything that we hear from either our other agency partners, often it's awesome to have stuff on the website when we're talking to people that we're getting our water loans from, or regulatory agencies that are always asking for, hey, I need your last 3 years of audits, or I need, there's like, here it is. It's just a link on the website and we don't have to go dig it out, send it to them. It's effective from a business to business perspective, as well as a community information portal. So there's a lot of reasons for us to keep updating things. And of course, it's 24/7 service. So we actually want to provide actual services using the website, not just information availability. So we're improving our forms where they're online fillable. You could submit our citizen inquiry. They come in mostly through the website now on an online form, not the paper form. That's where we're not getting a ton, but when they do come, they're coming through that primarily, which works really well for us internally. And it's, I think, really easy for the citizen, and they can do it from their phone. The website is it's called dynamic display. So it changes format to be very phone centric as well. About 60 to 70% of people access the website on a phone, not a desktop computer. That's national trends are headed even more that way. So the phone is the medium. So we're wanting to make sure that our stuff works, and that upgrade that we did last year, the website makes all of that, that dynamic display available. Yeah, that probably wraps up. It's, I don't want to overdo the show and tell and pat ourselves on the back, but I do want to say that, I think it is a lot of work that isn't, the good part is it just looks great on the output. And we kind of, like in a lot of things we do, we hide out the hard work that it takes to get there. But it's great stuff, and we'll just keep plugging away, and we're always open to ideas of things that we can do more of. We talked about the retreat of including council in videos, and and including council in pop-up event kind of things. Larry and his team have done pop-ups at the concert in the park last summer. Tried that out last year. I think it was really successful. Lessons learned to have different handouts and different things, but I think it's really good. I think our new park, that's another community engagement project of its own, the park development. We've got some ideas brewing for a pop-up thing, and A-frame signs at every park. So you QR code and fill out your survey there instead of having to go to a website or having to have Facebook to even know what's going on. Just trying to expand ways that we get input as well. So that's coming. That's probably the more the most to be the next 2 or 3 months that we put that kind of community engagement plan together for that project specific community engagement plan. The stuff here in the packet is more of that ongoing communication and community engagement, but we do have project by project occasionally come up where we do specific plans for engagement that we solicit from areas that we don't otherwise hear from people. That's the goal. Lots of good tools other cities use that we can learn from.
Yeah, this looks great, and it does demonstrate a lot of work, and it's ongoing work because a website is, again, never done, and it has to be constantly brought up to date.
Yep. Yeah, and there's always more, and hopefully that means that people want to understand more and see more, and like I said, interact. Also, it's a really efficient way to do business. So yeah, and we we have an investment in the product, right? We pay yearly for website services, so we want to leverage that and get every penny we can out of our investment in that. So it's hard sometimes to go, oh yeah, website stuff, don't forget, does it, but we're trying to get, okay, where all does, after council meetings, where all does everything that just happened need to go? Sometimes it'll be, like the FAQ, it goes out the door to the public and Facebook, and then we build the web, there's just follow up to everything. And there's some great, I think we've got some ideas on storm drain education. It's a current topic to get people understanding kind of our storm situation, and then also what we'll be doing in the summer to do that, what it's solving and what it impacts people with. You can't necessarily always park right on anywhere you want because that's a storm drain facility. If you don't want puddles or lakes, we have this trade-off. So it's some of that educational stuff, I think, helps us in the long run when we are making and you are making policy decisions, that there's a little more understanding of the systems that we're talking about.
Well, I commend the communication work particularly because it is essential in the time that we live, that the people in government communicate with the people that we serve, and with all the craziness going on in the wider world, that can very easily be forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
So it's crucially important that the governing institution be seen and be trusted by the people they're governing. Otherwise, that leads to erosion of trust, and that's never a good thing. Secondly, I just commend the website work because editing those things and making sure that everything is in the right place and that everything works, speaking from personal experience, can be very irritating.
Yes. Yes, it can. And we don't always get it right. So if we see some things that are kind of bungled and weird, when you're poking around, let us know. Because we sometimes when we have our institutional blinders on to make sense to us, and somebody that isn't as intimate with the info, going, well, why would you put it there? You know, that's a dumb place to to nest that piece of information. So yeah, always, and that just means that more people are using it. If we get constructive feedback like that, that means people are actually using the website. So that's a good thing. Well, good. That was that's just one that, you know, we have a few items on our framework document that we touch all the time and we're very familiar with, and a few that have just, you know, that are kind of in the works in the background. I thought it was an opportunity to just bring that one forward and talk about, and you will hear about more after we're done. We had a great session with Park and Tree Committee on some initial concept, kind of a little mini design charrette, I would say. And we have another one, their next meeting. And then the meeting after that will be kind of developing a draft community engagement plan. And we'll bring that to council before we launch that out. So that'll be kind of a framework related item that's specific to that park development. Park and Tree was doing great with that last month. And we're carrying on kind of part 2 of that next meeting. So with that, the last item is the look ahead, and wanted to take oh yeah, that works. Just wanted to maybe go through a little bit of it, and then maybe if there's any of them on here that you have any questions about, but I can highlight kind of why and how they're in here. You know, I update this after every meeting and, you know, take off what we just got done and then see what we didn't accomplish and sort it out and try and match up, you know, the volume for the meeting time we have. And that's somewhat of a struggle. Things don't always go perfectly. Some of the stuff we're waiting for something from an external partner somewhere. We think we're going to get it in time. So this is a very, you know, in the right corner there, it says the date it's updated, and with the all important, all dates tentative disclaimer with it, because it does move around a lot. So you know, as we get closer, the most immediate stuff usually is pretty well sorted out. What we have coming up on March 10th is I think pretty much what we've probably nothing new, and of course the goal is to never have a business meeting with something that's a decision that you haven't been made aware of prior. Those are rare. They sometimes happen, but we try to minimize those. But Business Oregon, I still think we're on track. It's going to be tight. If we get that information from them in time for you to have the full set of information to evaluate additional loan, adding on to that to fully fund the transmission line to connect the well. That one's probably out of that pile or list, excuse me, of stuff. That's probably the most susceptible to movement. The rest are on track. The Coleman Collector Street, the bid opening was today at Branch. I think there were 7 or 8 formal bids that met all the criteria submitted. So that's being evaluated. Brian attended the bid opening at Branch's office, and I got a couple quick text photos of the handwritten stuff. It'll be formalized here this week, and then Branch presents their results of the bids and their analysis and their recommendation to us, and that'll be in the package. So that one's on track for bid award and contract approval in March, and to stay on track with the project timeline there. The next work session, March 24th, that item number 10, the cost allocation methodology, that was the one that I was hoping to get on tonight, that we just didn't have enough time to get to it with everything else we had going. So it'll definitely be on the March 24th work session. And then we will have had the second kind of design charrette with the Park and Tree Committee by the work session next month. And so we'll have more of an update on the neighborhood park development plan. So a starter kit for the outreach, and kind of their initial concepts for the elements, at least, of the park that they are envisioning. And just real quick on that, the idea is to get with staff and the Park and Tree Committee to go from a 0 to 30%, kind of get a really conceptual 30% design, and then go out to the public and get feedback on that 30% design and any other feedback to then help shape the 60% plan. So the feedback will come back to Park and Tree and staff, and we'll massage that to get from a 30 to a 60. And then that will come to you all, because that's when kind of we can start talking phasing and dollars and timing of all of that. And then we kind of feed that back to Park and Tree one last time after you all, and that gets to a 90% plan. And then, depending on the phasing of when we bid things and what we do ourselves, it would ultimately, the 90 to 100% stuff is really more of a pure staff kind of final detail stuff. And then we go out, if and when we go out for bid, that's how that'll roll out. So the idea is to have something broad enough that it isn't too set in stone, and still pretty conceptual, to be able to then get pretty wide, broad feedback from the community on the initial thoughts of Park and Tree Committee. The April meeting is there's obviously both meetings, March and April. Probably the highlight or the big hitter is the public safety support fee, and then we have some building code ordinances and building permit fees, and our building operating plan update that we have to submit to the state. Every 4 years, we have to provide an updated operating plan to the state. And my guess is that something on that list is going to have to give. That's going to be too much. The goal is to try not to have more than like roughly a 2-hour council business meeting and an hour to an hour and a half max work session. That's kind of the general target that I shoot for. And of course, it always depends on, some things I think are 5-minute items or 30-minute items, and sometimes it's the reverse. Some things I think are 30, they're quick. But trying to not overwhelm any particular meeting, but also be cognizant of a lot of these are driven by the budget. We need to have some information in order to build a budget that makes sense and captures what we're wanting to accomplish. So a lot of what we have in this page really are driven by the budget needs. So the stuff that's further out, I don't know, there's, I'm trying to see if there's anything in particular. It's still some more building. We're working on some significant general fund contract renewals, both for dispatch with Lane County Sheriff's Office and with our building plans review and inspection program that we have with Cottage Grove. Those are underway now. Chief Larson and I are working on the Lane County dispatch contract, and Megan and I are working on the Cottage Grove IGA for building services. So both are making their way through, and I think we'll have our numbers in time for plugging them into the budget. And then after we have those numbers pretty well figured out, it'll come to council for kind of formal review and approval.
I'm just gonna guess that neither of those will be cheap, will they?
No, those are the two largest contracts we have in the general fund. Our number one expense in the general fund is staffing. And number two those are the other two large, and they're fixed, they're required. We have to have both services. How we have them and to what extent, we have some flexibility. Dispatch, not so much. And I think that's more to your point. That one is it's going up. We just don't know how much. But it's buoyed by some regional decisions that are being made by other jurisdictions potentially. The building contract, we have a little more maneuverability in there for how we form that. So I'm hopeful that those are each between 80 and 90,000 each. So 170 to 180,000 that we can stay flatter or maybe reduce it in combo. I don't know on net, but if we could stay flat on net, that would be good.
Well, I just say that because I know the city of Cottage Grove is going through some stuff right now, so it may affect their stuff on their end in terms of not our partnership, but what they're able to provide.
That was our concern as well. So we did have, we've had a meeting with the city manager and their community development director because for kind of that exact same question is, are they able to provide that service still? You know, not how much is it going to be, is it going to exist? Because if it's not, then we have a big pivot to make in a short period. So yeah, those concerns, we shared those. And I think they're in a position where they've restructured how they are going to provide that service, because they provide that service to us, to Veneta and Cresswell, and I think to Lowell as well. So it affects more than just us, but I think I think there's a good path forward.
That's good, because I was wondering about that.
Yeah. I'll just stop there, other than to say that the budget committee meetings are set, and we've canceled that April work session because that's packaged right around budget, and you know, the council may have some meeting fatigue, and I'll definitely have budget brain. So that was I think it works out with our the flow of things, is to just not have that work session.
Is that April 21st then?
April 21st and May 5th are the budget committee meetings. Yes.
Which one did you say is canceled?
The April 28th work session. So it's highlighted in yellow there on the packet. Yeah, if there's any questions, the very last listed item, budget transfers and supplemental budget, you know, it's marked as if necessary. That's only if we're you know, looking at our appropriation levels and need to do any maneuvering for compliance. That may or may not be necessary. We'll see. We'll know in May.
Busy schedule.
Busy. Yep.
And it gets busier as the year goes on.
Does. Yeah. That's all I had on, yeah, like I said, a slightly reduced volume work session.
Okay, I did want to again extend the invitation. You all got an email from me on the LCOG member appreciation dinner and raffle. And so that is March 6th. If anyone is interested in that, then let me know. Counselor Bowman will be coming. Counselor Smith will be coming. We need to sort of wrap that up and figure out how many tickets we need to buy, or if we need to get a whole table. It's for a worthwhile cause. It's a benefit for the senior meals program, and it really is interesting. LCOG sponsors a lot of different things across the entire county, and I learn something every time I go. So, and it's pretty good food too. So, and then they have a dessert auction, and there's all kinds of fun. If you're interested, let Sammy or I know, or both of us, and we'll make sure we have enough tickets. And we don't get to sit together. Just in case you don't want to sit with strangers. Okay, anything else for the good of the order?
Let me ask a quick question or clarification. It might be for Chief Larson. It's kind of random, but it's from a resident that was a little confused about our dispatch service. And I make it quick, but just a little confusion. I mean, I think I understand the answer, but when we call and the person in dispatches, of course, obviously, and I think in Junction City, if I'm not mistaken, I'm a sheriff or.
Yeah.
The dispatch.
Chief Larson can answer better
We're
than
Lane
I.
County Sheriff's Office for our dispatch.
Not in Coburg. It's okay. So Lane County Sheriff. If there's a event that they're reporting here in Coburg,
I'm assuming that the dispatch will alert the Coburg officer. Is that how it
If
works?
there's any calls for service, they notify a Coburg police officer
Okay.
via the radio if we're on duty, or they'll call us if we're on a call from home, but it'll be a Coburg police officer.
Right, and I think this person was kind of confused, and I tried to make sure to explain that, no, just the dispatch not being in Coburg shouldn't affect the service in
It
Coburg.
will not.
You're right, because even if, and I tried to explain, you had mentioned something the other night, that, you know, occasionally a different responder might be in the area and potentially respond before Coburg police if they just happen to be closer. If the Coburg, you know, police
Yeah,
person
let's
is
say
at
they were-
home and they're coming.
Yeah, or we're at the
Okay.
jail with a DUI arrest, because that's where the intoxilizer is.
Yeah.
If there's a dispute that comes in or a robbery or something, they're gonna dispatch whoever the closest unit is. So it could be a state trooper, it could be a sheriff's deputy, or we would be closer if we're not tied up at the jail or coming from home.
So they'll.
Even if
call-
they beat us here, we're gonna come here because we're probably gonna get the report and do all the paperwork.
Sure. I think the takeaway is even if somebody else gets here first or whatever, if there's something happening in Coburg, the Coburg person will be informed and they will come.
That's correct,
And, you know,
yes. Yep.
Not just, some random person. Yeah, I think what they were worried about was the call goes somewhere else and then, you know, who is gonna answer that call? And, you know, they weren't really clear that Coburg police are going to be answering the call one way or another.
Yeah, Coburg Police will answer the call. There's a scenario where like yesterday, there was a 911 call. 2 vehicles on the freeway ended up in the water and there was a baby. They thought it was going to be submerged. So that got Lane County OSP, Coburg, everybody went looking for that vehicle. And 911 actually kept that call instead of transferring it over to Lane County Sheriff's Department, who normally dispatches. That's only under extreme circumstances would they do that, because they don't want to lose the person in the transfer or just for the timeliness of the response. That's what they chose to do. And that's true throughout every law enforcement agency in the county. If it goes to 911, it goes to the Central Lane 911 center, and then they send it off to various dispatch centers.
Yeah.
So just add more confusion to that. But if it's for Coburg, Coburg's going to be notified and we are going to respond.
If it's in this community, if it
Right.
impacts Coburg, then you will always be, not you, but you in a broader sense will be involved.
That's correct.
Thank
It-
you.
Brings the opportunity to say, yeah, that if we aren't the first responding or if we're not even noticed on the scene immediate, you know, or people in the window of time, somebody is paying attention, that, you know, I've seen some, you know, social media chatter that means that we don't have anybody on duty or we don't have any, you know, and as several examples that Chief just mentioned, that absolutely isn't necessarily the case. We could have 3 people on duty and still have a situation where the first mutual aid response is OSP or sheriff. So it's not at all indicative of what our staffing level at that moment is, what coverage we have. And yeah, dispatch is a very interesting thing. And we've had a lot of conversations about the differences of, you know, my prior region, and not every region operates dispatches the same way, about how it's kind of decentralized. But in any event, I think that, yeah, that there is a very clear pathways that it always ends up with Chief Larson and the team.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Clarification or just reinforcement of
Yeah.
what we thought.
Anything else for the good of the order? Now or forever hold your peace, as the saying goes. If not, I will adjourn this meeting at